Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the Unbound identity theory. We're going to talk about how, and we're going to talk about alignment. Okay, so this is part of a playlist. You need to watch this in the order that it exists within the playlist link below. Thank you. All right, so he's building, in my humble opinion, 1974, he does this publication, and actually 1972 he's building Dungeons and Dragons, right? And he wants to take it, in my humble opinion, he's building this human improvement engine, right? He can't deliver another Risk, another Chutes and Ladders, another Candyland. That's not what he's intending, right? He wants something that's going to impact people and change people and improve people for centuries and millennia. So how does he do it? He knows he's moving toward unbound identity, right? He's moving toward this state that gives people extra life, right? And it doesn't matter how much money they have, it doesn't matter how much wealth they have. It doesn't matter how much wealth they have, it doesn't, it's divorced from their class as Americans. And and he really wants to deliver this, right? So he knows he's close. He knows he has this incredible. He knows he's built a platform that is really going to change how people interact together, right? He already knows that he's antiquated literally every type of human narrative, right? But he also understands that he has a problem. He has a player and he has a player character, right? And so, Dungeons and Dragons, as he's structuring it, has a dungeon master, a player, and a player character, right? And there's a disconnect between the player and the player character, okay? And he needs a pin, right? Like he's created Table. He's created this incredible, energetic, exciting new narrative mechanism, right? But he needs the player to be excited, and he needs the player character to have the pathos of this branching narrative that branches from the dungeon master's content to the player's content to the polyhedral dice, right? So there are three elements that are creating story, right? And that are immersing the player and the dungeon master into this story, right? The player more than anyone else. The immersion for the dungeon master is not nearly as deep as for the player, right? But he knows that the players are there. So how does he pin the energy of the table from the player to the player character, back and forth, and allow that energy to hit both of those at the same time? Well, he does something, again, that is just has never, the idea that you would put this into a game, it's never been done ever. Before Gary came along, it had never been seen even remotely. It had never been attempted, right? So let's get in. So what does he do? He puts in alignment, right? And alignment is truly incredible. He's like, okay, are you good? Are you good? Or he says, so the question goes first to the player. The question goes first to the player character. Is your player character good or evil? Do they run toward order, or do they seek chaos, right? And he makes this 9 point juncture, right? Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. And he says, your morality is on an axis, and you are determining that morality of your player character now, and you are stating it. What? This is deep, right? He's saying, hey, this had never been, nothing like this had ever been seen in war games, right? They're like, oh, this is the good side, this is the bad side. These are the aggressors, these are the people who are being preyed upon. Which there was nothing like this, right? And also, in my humble opinion, Gary knew the moment the player had to answer this question for their player character is about 15 seconds until the same question echoed in their mind about themselves. Am I evil? Am I good? Do I run toward order? do I seek chaos? Right? It was a question about themselves, right? And so this was the first. This is where the human improvement engine part comes, like most directly and most unobscured, right? He had built this opaqueness to make this thing look like a game, in my humble opinion. But here he's drawing the veil back, and he's saying, "Who are you? What are you?" And he's also giving opportunity. I read a few books on. I watched a movie called The Town. It had Ben Affleck in it, and it proposed, right? And then I'd read some books that that actually were used as source material for The Town, and they said that in Boston for decades, right, bank robbing was a family business, passed from father to son, passed from father to daughter, right, or mother to daughter, right, and that there were families that were just spectacularly good at robbing banks because the information was passed down generationally. So Gary sees the world, right? He's come up in a world. His childhood starts with World War II. He sees the destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He sees the assassination of John F. Kennedy, MLK, Bobby Kennedy, right? And more than anything, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he sees it. He sees it, right? Who bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki? The United States of America, the good guys? Question mark. Or were they on the evil spectrum? Or is there good enough to take them to the neutral spectrum? What's happening? Who's good? Who's evil? And he knows more than anyone, right? Because of when he was born, his intelligence, his parents who encouraged him to look at the world, that the world is fraught, and there are these choices we make. We run toward chaos. We seek chaos, or we run toward order. We choose good, or we choose evil. And he said, you're going to choose it for your player character. And he left unsaid, you choose it every day for yourself, right? But then he was aware that there were, all over the world, there were these unique areas where, like, there's almost a certainty in Boston, there were children born into evil, right? Like, they're like, our job is robbing banks. Like, this is what this family does, right? And you're a part of it. And and you're going to start learning when you're 4 how to crack safes, right? So before Gary's born, they're trapped, right? Gary's born, this person who may think that they are evil from birth, from 4 years after their birth, they've been doing evil. They have this opportunity to choose good for just a small area, to choose a new identity that wasn't born into evil, right? And choose good and go in a path where taking the life of a law enforcement officer isn't just part of a day's work, right? Like, it's just, and he's like, I want people to have the ability to have more than one identity and to choose a different alignment than they may have been forced to take in their IRL, right? And then on the other side, there's all these people who have chosen good for their entire lives, but now they might be considering actions of evil in IRL, and they have no outlet for it. And he's like, hey, this game allows you the choice. You get to choose, right? And so while you may have chosen lawful good every day of your life in IRL, maybe it's okay you have 2 days with this other identity where those evil actions have more safety and more bounding, right? Like, more protection around it. It's staggering. Alignment was used, in my humble opinion, by Gary to make the first human improvement engine. And he knew he could not tell anyone because everybody would just dismiss it, right? And he was 100% right. Nobody was going to listen to some, insurance salesman from Heartland America about human improvement engine. Nobody's going to listen to that. But he knew what he was doing, and it worked, in my humble opinion. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.